Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, breaking down the MLB slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Monday, July the 27th. We're going to cover Draftkings 9-game MLB slate for Monday. Got a 7-gamer over on Yahoo. We'll talk about their slate as well. They're not including the 2 games at 6:40. We do have a 6:40 start time for Monday night, which is a little bit different. Normally, weekday slates usually start around 7, but Draftkings is deciding to include the 2 6:40 games in their main slate. Yahoo, on the other hand, will not be including those games. They'll have a 7-gamer starting at 7:05. We'll talk through Draftkings, guys I like at pitcher. We'll talk about batters, obviously, look at some stacks I like as well. We'll hit on some guys I like over on Yahoo too, talk about their pricing, who I'm looking to target over there. But just before we do get started, guys, as always, would appreciate it if you would hit that like button down below. The likes are always appreciated. You can also click the subscribe button as well. Now that MLB is back, it has resumed. I will be uploading MLB videos pretty much every single day. I'm going to try and get videos up every single day. And when NBA returns in a few days, I'm going to be uploading NBA videos every single day as well. So the goal is to get 2 videos up on my channel pretty much for the remainder of the season. And then when NFL starts, assuming it does start on time, I will have NFL videos up as well. So I'm going to have a ton of content coming out to my YouTube channel now. I know I was inactive for a bit, but sports are back, so I'm going to be uploading a ton. Would appreciate it if you would hit that subscribe button. Obviously, click the like button too. You can follow me on Twitter as well if you want to stay up to date with me, my life outside of maybe DFS and DFS included. You can follow me on Twitter, link down below in the description, at DFS by Noah. But let's go ahead and take a look at pitcher for today. We'll start off at the top where we have Mike Foltynewicz is our most expensive pitcher on DraftKings, $10,300. Just kind of shows you already what kind of pitching slate we're looking at for today. Very weak pitching slate when Foltynewicz is our most expensive pitcher. He gets a matchup against the Rays, and honestly, I don't think this is a spot where I want to pay up for Foltynewicz. Just feels overpriced. I think there are guys that are like 2K cheaper that we can definitely look to, even like in the 9K range. I don't really like any of these guys in the 9K range, but if I was going to play someone, or if I was going to pay up for someone 9K and above, it would probably be someone like Dylan Cease, who I think does have strikeout upside. It's a tough spot for him as well against Cleveland, but he'd be the guy that I go to. Just don't want to pay up for Folty here. The Rays have a decent lineup. They don't really have a ton of strikeouts either. 4.7 implied run total is kind of scary too. Like, that's just a high run total. Usually we see Foltynewicz when he's facing a team, like maybe the team will have like a 4.1, 4.2 total, depending on what the team is. 4.7 implied run total is a bit scary. I just don't think I need to pay 10-3 for Foltynewicz, especially on a slate where I like some expensive bats. I think this is going to be, or this is definitely going to be a slate where I'm going like 2 8K, 7K pitchers and then just really pay up for the bats, because there's some good bats, or there's some expensive bats in good spots today that we'll talk about later on in the video. So these 9K and above guys, I don't really have any interest in any of them. If I was going to play one, though, it'd probably be Dylan Cease. Cease does have strikeout upside. He's a young pitcher with a lot of talent. It's a tough spot, though, against Cleveland, so I still don't really want to go too heavy on him. Cleveland has a pretty solid lineup, especially 1 through 5. Cesar Hernandez doesn't strike out much. We'll put the ball in play. We know Jose Ramirez, Lindor both have power. We saw Ramirez double dong on Sunday. Carlos Santana, Franmil Reyes also have power. There's some strikeouts at the bottom of the lineup, like 6 through 9, but 5.4 implied run total for the Indians. Definitely scary as well. Just don't really need to go to any of these guys. If you force me to play one, it would probably be Cease, but I think I'm really going to be living in this mid-range. Tyler Glasnow, someone I have some interest in. He's a really good pitcher, has a lot of strikeout upside. It's a brutal matchup, though, against the Braves. The Braves are a team that I really hate taking pitchers against. Just they don't really strike out. They put the ball in play. They have a really good lineup. They added Marcell Ozuna, who has a ton of power, a guy that will strike out some, but a lot of power, just getting more power in that lineup. 1 through 4 is really scary with Acuna, Albies, Freeman, Ozuna. And then even 5 through 8, 5 through 9, like there's not a lot of easy outs here. Matt Adams has power. Dansby Swanson will put the ball in play. Austin Riley has power. There's some strikeouts towards the bottom with like Swanson and Riley and even Matt Adams. But I just don't like targeting pitchers against the Braves. Glasnow has upside, though. That's the only reason I have some interest in him. And his price, too, at $8,900. Like, seeing Glasnow at $8,900 and Foltynewicz at $10,300, I think those prices should be flip-flopped, honestly. I think Glasnow should be the most expensive pitcher on this slate just because of raw talent. He's the most talented pitcher on the slate, in my opinion. But the matchup is definitely a knockdown for him. At 8,900, I do have some interest in him, though. I think I'd just rather go to Josh James. I do feel a little bit safer in Josh James at 8,600. We're going to talk about him in a second. I like his matchup a lot against the Mariners. But just a few more things on Glasnow. The strikeout upside's there because of how talented he is. The matchup is brutal. Also, his pitch count, we don't know what his pitch count's going to look like. Right here, if you look in the Draftkings, like in the news blurb, it says Glasnow will take it 1 inning at a time in Monday's home start against the Braves. Really don't know what that means. If he goes out there and he's somewhat struggling, like they could maybe pull him after 3 innings. If he goes out there and he's pitching really well, maybe he goes 5-6 innings. We don't really know here. The Rays are always pretty safe when it comes to their pitchers. We saw them limit Blake Snell on Sunday. He only pitched 2 or 3 innings, I believe. It just makes Glasnow even more risky. On top of the matchup being really bad, you just don't know what or how deep he's going to go into this game. You don't know what his pitch count's going to look like. If we could get a specific number, like maybe 85, 90 pitches or 5-6 innings from Glasnow, then I would have some interest. I just don't think I can go there today. If you want to go to Glasnow, I'm not going to tell you that's a bad play, but me personally, I feel a little bit better with a guy like Josh James. Josh James, another guy that has a lot of strikeout upside. You look at his numbers last season and just over his career, he's been a guy that's been used a lot out of the bullpen, but he has made a few spot starts, I believe, in the past. Over his career, faced 178 lefties, 179 righties, so about, I would say, what's that add up? That's about around 360 total batters faced. Josh James has a 35.4% K rate to lefties, 36.9% to righties. So this is a guy that gets a lot of strikeouts, and it is a very favorable matchup for strikeouts. If we do look at K rate last season versus right-handed pitching, Seattle was towards the top of the league. They were 4th in terms of K rate versus righties, 25.8%. Their lineup is pretty much the same as it was last year. So at 8,600, when you factor in the matchup and also a guy that has strikeout upside, I know Glasnow has elite K upside, but Josh James also has a ton of K upside as well, and his matchup is way better against the Mariners. So sign me up for some Josh James as one of the top pitcher options on this slate, in my opinion. He's 8,600 on DraftKings. Looking over to Yahoo, he's $35 over there, which I think is definitely a steal of a price tag. I like Josh James on both sides. I believe he is fully stretched out as well. He can go 5-6 innings in this game. I'm pretty sure his most recent scrimmage, he threw 64 pitches during an inter-squad game. So if he can throw 64 pitches in a scrimmage, then he can definitely throw 70, 75 pitches here at the minimum, in my opinion. And if he's pitching if he's pitching really well, maybe they let him go 80, 85 pitches. I like Josh James a ton. 8,600. I think he is one of the better pitcher options on the slate. Jay Happ, Adrian Hauser, Michael Wacha. Just don't know if I can go to these guys today. There's not much I like in the 8K range besides Josh James and maybe some Glasnow. Wacha in a brutal spot against Boston. Jay Happ against the Phillies. I don't really want to go there. I don't think Happ has a ton of upside. Really struggles to righties, and this Phillies lineup has a lot of good right-handed hitters in it. McCutchen, Hoskins, Realmuto, Segura. I actually think the Phillies make for a very interesting stack today. We will talk about them more towards the end of the video. Hauser against Pittsburgh, I could see going to at 8,300, but Pittsburgh doesn't strike out much. That's one of the reasons I don't really like taking pitchers against them. They have a low implied run total, just 4.4 runs, but the K's, I don't know if they're going to be there in this spot. You're going to need to get lucky with, balls in play, just finding a glove. He's going to have to get a lot of ground balls here to even put up a good fantasy outing. Because I don't think we're going to see Hauser go out there and get 8, 9 strikeouts. I just don't think that's going to happen against this Pirates team that really doesn't strike out much. You look at their K rate last season versus right-handed pitching. They were second to last in the league, only behind Houston, just an 18.8% K rate versus righties. Just not the best spot for strikeouts for Hauser, so I don't think I really want to go there. But then when we get to the 7K range, I think there is a guy that stands out here. Pablo Lopez facing the Orioles at home. I do actually like Lopez here. That just kind of shows you what kind of pitching slate we're looking at when Josh James and Pablo Lopez are two of my favorite pitchers. Just shows you how bad the position is. But Lopez facing the Orioles, a very favorable spot. Orioles last year, in terms of strikeout versus right-handed pitching, We're towards the top of the league, I do believe, if I can find Baltimore. Or Baltimore was actually towards the middle of the pack, which is interesting. I thought their K rate was much higher versus righties, but 22.8% K rate versus right-handed pitchers. Last season, you look at their projected lineup for tomorrow, definitely some strikeouts in it. Going to the Orioles, you can get some K, especially towards the bottom of the lineup with guys like Pedro Severino, Renato Nunez. A lot of these righties will strike out versus right-handed pitching, like Hanser Alberto. We know Chris Davis will strike out a lot. He's shown some glimpse of power at times, but still a guy that strikes out a ton. You can get some Ks here. It's a very favorable pitcher's park as well. Pitching in Marlins Park, one of the best pitcher's parks. 3.9 implied run total for the Orioles, which I believe is the lowest on the slate, if I'm not mistaken. Or the Mariners actually at 3.7, but 3.9 implied run total for the Orioles, second lowest or tied for second lowest on the slate. Really favorable spot for Pablo Lopez. He's 7,500, which honestly I think is a pretty reasonable price tag when you factor in the matchup. Like if I had to choose between Waka, Lopez, or Arrieta, like Arrieta against the Yankees, no way I go there. Just too much blow-up potential. The Yankees honestly should get to Arrieta here, and he should really struggle. Waka against the Red Sox, like that's just a brutal spot. Give me some Pablo Lopez against the Orioles. I think he does stand out as a decent pitcher option on a pretty weak pitching slate. He's $33 on Yahoo. I do like him quite a bit over there as well. James and Lopez looking like two of the better pitcher options on the slate, just in my opinion. And then if you're wanting to go for value, I mean, there's not much value I like. On the other side of that Baltimore game, I could see going to Asher Wojciechowski, pitching for the Orioles against the Marlins. It's also a very favorable matchup for him. We know this Marlins team, not really good offensively. They've shown actually signs of offense this season. I mean, they put up I don't even know how many runs they put up Sunday against the Phillies, but had a big outing. They do have some better hitters in this lineup. It's not as bad of a lineup as it was last year. They did add Jonathan Villar. They did add Corey Dickerson. They added Jesus Aguilar. So it's not a terrible lineup, but still, there's some easy outs at the bottom here. I could see Wojciechowski putting up a decent game. I would feel safer, though, getting up to Lopez if you can. I think Lopez, it's a better matchup for him, in my opinion. I think at $7,500, with the $700 difference, I'd rather just get to him over Wojciechowski. But because Wojciechowski is facing the Marlins, I did want to mention him. That matchup is very favorable. But like Michael Fulmer, I would have interest in, but he's only expected to pitch 1 or 2 innings. He's just going to be the opener. It's a good matchup against the Royals, but you obviously can't play Fulmer because he's just going to be an opener. Mike Montgomery gets a good matchup against Detroit, against the Tigers, but he's just not the best pitcher. Doesn't really get strikeouts. Just don't think I can go there. Wade Miley against the Cubs, that's a tough spot. There's just really not much I like for value, so I think pitcher's going to be pretty thin for me. I don't think I'm going to be playing a ton of pitchers. I'm probably just going to have 3 or 4, maybe 5 pitchers in my player pool today. If I play 10 lineups, I'm probably only going to have 5 pitchers in my player pool. That's most likely going to be Josh James, Pablo Lopez, obviously. I'll definitely have some exposure to Glass now. I'm not going to go too heavy on him, but if he's going to be really, really low owned, single digits, 6-7% owned, I could see playing him at maybe 10-15% of my lineups, just getting a little bit overweight on the field. Don't want to take a huge stand, though, on Glasnow because I think there is some blow-up potential here against the Braves. He will for sure be in my player pool, though. Obviously, James and Lopez I like. Hauser maybe, but, God, there's not much upside there against a team that doesn't strike out much. Pitching is just so bad today. James and Lopez and maybe Glasnow are, the guys I just feel the most confident in. Dylan Cease, I guess you could consider just because he has K upside. It's a brutal matchup, though. Yeah, man, I think I'm just going to be pretty heavy on Josh James and Pablo Lopez. Even if those are going to be, 2 of the more popular pitchers on this slate, which I think they probably will be, I'll just go overweight on them. I'll just go really chalky at pitcher and then get different with my bats. That's probably the way I'm going to be approaching this slate. I don't really like any of these other pitcher options. Wojciechowski, I forgot to mention him. He'll for sure be in my player pool against the Marlins. I do like that matchup. But, yeah, those 4 guys, probably where I'm kind of cutting it at pitcher today. So let's go ahead and talk about bats now. Look at some hitters that I like. We'll just start off with some of the run totals on the slate. Some of the teams that stand out in terms of implied runs. The Astros stand out, 6 implied run total versus Kendall Graveman. We will talk about them when we get to stacks. You got the Yankees with a 5.5 implied run total against Jake Arrieta. Even the Brewers against Stephen Brault have a 5.2 implied run total. The Tigers, a team that you never see have a high run total, has a 5.2 implied total today versus Mike Montgomery. So that could make us want to look at some Tiger bats today. Even the Indians, 5.4 total against Cease. Probably won't be stacking the Indians, though. I think they're a team I'll probably be fading today. I've actually been stacking the Indians a lot recently. It did work out Sunday. They had a good game Sunday. I believe it was Saturday, though. They really disappointed in a good spot. I don't think this is going to be a spot where they go out there and put up like 8 or 10 runs. I'll probably fade the Indians, and they'll probably go out there and put up 8 or 10 runs, just make me look stupid. But if I was going to side with the Indians bats or Dylan Cease, I'd probably roster Dylan Cease, honestly. But yeah, I think the Astros are the team we definitely need to hit on first. The team that really stands out the most for bats. 6 implied run total versus Kendall Graveman. Definitely a favorable spot today. Looking at Kendall Graveman's numbers, I mean, it's a small sample size. Last year, he didn't pitch much, or 2018, I should say. Didn't have a ton of innings pitched. Only faced 80 lefties, 78 righties. But to those 80 lefties, he gave up a 394 WOBA, 514 slugging. To those 78 righties he faced in 2018, gave up a 382 WOBA, 568 slugging. We look at the home runs, gave up over a 3 home run per 9 to righties, 1.62 to lefties. Really no strikeouts either, just a 16% K rate to lefties, 17% to righties for Kendall Graveman. Like, this is not a guy that you expect to pitch well. It's a brutal matchup as well against the Astros. I like a lot of these Astros bats, especially the top of their lineup. That's where we really want to target the Astros with Springer, Altuve, Bregman, Brantley, Gurriel, Correa. Mainly the 1 through 6 is what I like from the Astros. And because this is a slate where we don't really have expensive pitching to pay up for, you should have the salary to pay up for these Astros bats. One guy that really stands out to me is Alex Bregman. I mean, Bregman is just one of the best hitters in the league, in my opinion. Versus left-handed pitching versus right-handed pitching, it really doesn't matter. He crushes both sides of the plate. I was looking at his numbers before I started recording. I believe he had like 40 or 41 home runs in 2019 last year, and 25 of his 41 home runs came from right-handed pitching. So he actually showed more power versus righties than lefties. Can really just crush both sides of the plate, though it doesn't really matter. We saw in 2018, Kendall Graveman really struggled to righties. It was a small sample size, but a 382 WOBA to righties, over 3 home runs per 9. We can even take a look at his career numbers. Over his career, a 336 WOBA to righties. Still gave up 1.42 home runs per 9. No strikeouts at all. 15% K rate to lefties, 15% to righties. Like, these Astros bats look like some of the best pay-up options on the slate, in my opinion. They should have a field day here. Love Bregman on both sides. He's $21 on Yahoo. He's expensive, but we had the salary to pay up for him. He's $5,100 on DK, also expensive, but again, we've got the salary to pay up for him. So love me some Alex Bregman. I think Michael Brantley on Draftkings looks like one of the top value plays on the slate. For some reason, Brantley's only $3,300. I don't know why he's this cheap. Normally, Brantley is a guy that's always around the low 4Ks. Even sometimes you'll see him like 4,500, 4,600, depending on how good the matchup is. 3,300 batting cleanup for a team with a 6 implied run total looks like an exceptional value. Especially like that Draftkings price is just crazy. He's a little bit more expensive on Yahoo. His price is much more reasonable over there, $15. Still think he's a good value over there, but Draftkings, man, 3,300 for Michael Brantley, like, this is just a silly price tag. The fact that he's cheaper than guys like Kyle Seager, Kyle Lewis, J.P. Crawford, like, Michael Brantley is cheaper than J.P. Crawford. That just shows you how bad the pricing is. Like, he's $1,000 too cheap, in my opinion, especially because of how good the spot is. 6 implied run total against a pitcher that has shown he will give up home runs to both sides of the plate, doesn't get strikeouts at all. Brantley, to begin with, doesn't strike out much. You know he's going to put the ball in play, and against a pitcher like Graveman that gives up home runs, that gives up power, exceptional spot for Brantley. And at 3,300 on DK, love him as one of the better value plays on this slate. Yahoo, $15, not as necessary over there. Looking at the pricing for Yahoo for the Astros, you got Springer at 21, Altuve at 20, Bregman at 21, and then you have like Brantley 15, Gurriel and Correa both 17. I think even those guys at the top of the lineup, even though they're $20 and above, we can still easily fit them in. So that's why that's a reason I think we should pay up for Jose Altuve. We've got the salary. Going with a $35 or $35 and a $33 pitcher, you're going to have plenty of salary to pay up for these expensive Astros bats. Don't really need to go to a cheap Brantley. Obviously, if you're stacking, though, you can include Brantley in your stacks on Yahoo. But if I'm just doing like a 2 or 3 man stack from the Astros, might as well just get in those top 3 guys, Springer, Bregman, Altuve, the guys that have the most power in this lineup. Altuve, very same thing, kind of the same thing with Bregman, left-handed pitching, right-handed pitching. Doesn't really matter. Altuve is one of the best hitters in the league, facing a pitcher in Graveman that, like I said, gives up home runs to both sides of the plate, especially righties. He really struggled to back in 2018, giving up over 3 home runs per 9. Love this spot for these Astros bats. So the Astros, obviously a team I like today, and then another team I do want to hit on that could be really sneaky is the Royals, excuse me. So the Royals only have a 4.4 implied run total. Michael Fulmer is expected to start for the Tigers, but he's only going to throw 1, maybe 2 innings at the most. He's just going to be an opener. We don't know yet who's going to be behind Michael Fulmer, whether that's Tyler Alexander. He was someone I saw could maybe be the long reliever. Right now, Draftkings has Gregory Soto as the probable long reliever for the Tigers on Monday. And if that's the case, man, I like a lot of these Royals righties. Gregory Soto got destroyed by right-handed pitching last season. I should have had his numbers pulled up. I'll pull them up real quick just so you guys can see. I remember last year when Soto was on the mound, he was someone that I stacked against a lot, just really struggled to right-handed bats, gave up a lot of power, didn't really get strikeouts either. The K rate was abysmal. We'll pull it up just real quick so you guys can see the K rate for Gregory Soto, how he did versus righties last year. So taking a look at his 2019 numbers once I get it to load. I'm assuming he's going to be the long reliever since DraftKings has him in there as the probable long reliever. Maybe it winds up being Tyler Alexander. Even if it is Alexander, I still like some of these Royals righties because Alexander is another guy that will struggle versus right-handed pitching, or right-handed hitting, I should say. But let's get to Soto's numbers if they'll pull up. Let me refresh the page. I should have already had this pulled up so I could have been showing you guys, but let's see. There we go. So versus righties last year, pretty good sample size. Faced 200 righties, gave up a 399 WOBA, gave up 1.1 or 1.91 home runs per 9, nearly 2 home runs per 9, just a 15% K rate as well. A ton of hard contact too, 53.8% hard contact percentage versus right-handed hitters. Like Gregory Soto got destroyed by righties last year. If he's going to be following Michael Fulmer today, then I like some of these righties from the Royals, and they are insanely cheap, especially on DraftKings. You have Whit Merrifield at only 4K. Alberto Mondesi is only 3,500. Jorge Soler, a ton of power versus lefties, is only 3,800. Salvador Perez, batting cleanup, catcher, only 2,900. Looks like an exceptional value. Definitely like that 1 through 4. Alberto Mondesi, I think he's someone that really stands out on DraftKings at 3,500. I mean, this is a guy that we saw last year priced around upper 4s, sometimes even would see Mondesi at 5K or above. Just a dude that has so much upside. I don't know why he's this cheap at 3,500. I know he hasn't gotten off to the best start this season, but still, this is a guy that puts the ball in play, doesn't strike out a ton. I know his strikeout rate, he has a higher strikeout rate versus lefties than righties, I believe. And we know Soto, to begin with, doesn't really strike people out anyway, so we should expect Mondesi to put the ball in play, has a ton of speed. That's really where his upside comes from, is stolen bases. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Modesty lead the league in stolen bases this year. And stolen bases are so valuable on DraftKings. I believe they're worth 6 points if I'm not mistaken. So if you get a single and a stolen base, I mean, he's pretty much paid off value right there. There's obviously upside for way more, though, for Modesty. Like, look at his price from last year. Like, he was 5,100, 5,100. Like, this is a guy we're going to see priced in the upper 4s, sometimes around 5K most slates. Getting him at 3,500, I think, is a huge steal this early on in the season. And some of these Royals bats in general are just way too cheap today if they are going to be facing Gregory Soto. I'm going to like a mini Royal stack for sure. I don't think I'll be full stacking them, but if I have like a 5-man Astro stack and I want to fill out the rest of my lineup with maybe 2 or 3 Royals, I could definitely see using Merrifield, Mondesi, Soler, or Merrifield, Mondesi, Salvador Perez, especially Perez. 2,900 for a catcher batting cleanup. That's exceptional value. Usually, catcher's already a position you probably want to pay down at to begin with, or you're looking to pay down at. So, yeah, sign me up for some of these Royals right-handed bats, assuming they are going to face Gregory Soto. If we get a different news and maybe it's a different pitcher, then I might make some adjustments, but for now, assuming Soto's the long reliever, sign me up for some of these Royals righties. On Yahoo, you could go to them too, but the pricing on Draftkings, where I really like these guys just with how cheap they are there. But then one last team I want to talk about that I do like quite a bit is the Phillies. I think the Phillies are a team I'm definitely going to be stacking, and I think they're going to be pretty low owned. Just a 4.6 implied run total right now as I'm recording this video Sunday night. I like the spot a lot for them against J.A. Happ. J.A. Happ is someone that's always struggled to right-handed hitters, never really been good against righties. Last season gave up a 384 WOBA to right-handed hitters, only a 19.8% K rate. Did give up a ton of power as well, a 2.13 home run per 9, or 2.13 home runs per 9. And there's a lot of guys in this Phillies lineup that hit left-handed pitching well, that have power versus lefties. Really, the main three you want to target in terms of power are Andrew McCutchen, Rhys Hoskins, and JT Realmuto. I think those three guys look like exceptional plays today. If you want to do a three-man stack there, I like that a ton. I wouldn't be afraid to full stack the Phillies though, even including guys like Bryce Harper, Didi Gregorius. Even though it's lefty-lefty, those guys still can hit left-handed pitching. We saw Didi homer off a lefty. I believe it was Saturday. Bryce Harper, he's always had power versus lefties. Better against righties, but can still hit lefties really well. And putting Harper, Gregorius in your Philly stacks, I mean, the Phillies are already, I feel like, going to be a team that's pretty low owned today. But that'll just make you even more contrarian, putting Harper and Didi in your lineup, because really nobody's going to go to them. If people are going to play Phillies today, it's probably going to be the righties. So you can definitely get different pretty easily with this Phillies team. But McCutchen, Hoskins, Realmuto, I like a ton. And we look at their pricing over on Yahoo. There's exceptional plays factoring Yahoo pricing. You have Andrew McCutchen at only $14. Rhys Hoskins is only $15 at first base. Love that price for Rhys Hoskins on Yahoo. I think that is just way too cheap of a price tag. Hoskins last year against left-handed pitching, and just since he's been in the major leagues, has always done well against lefties. Been a much better hitter versus left-handed pitching. Shown much more power versus lefties. So love Hoskins at 15. Love Andrew McCutchen at 14. Andrew McCutchen, another guy that's always hit left-handed pitching well. And like I showed you guys earlier, J.A. Happ versus righties, over 2 home runs per 9. Really no strikeouts, just a 20% K rate. High WOBA, high ISO, giving up power to righties. Love this spot for some of these Phillies right-handed hitters, specifically the top 3 guys, McCutchen, Hoskins, and Realmuto. That's definitely going to be a mini stack that I for sure have in my player pool for today. But it's kind of what I'm looking at for batters. Talking about stacks, we've already hit on 3 teams I really like. I like these righties from the Phillies. I like the not the Yankees, the Astros as a full stack. I think the Yankees are definitely in play though against Jake Arrieta. Jake Arrieta's just, at this point, he's not that good of a pitcher. He was really good when he was with the Cubs, but since then, things have gone downhill for Jake Arrieta. He walks a lot of guys now, doesn't get a ton of strikeouts, really struggles to lefties. I know this Yankees lineup is mainly right-handed heavy, but even though Arrieta is going to face a lot of righties, that doesn't make me want to go to him, especially when you look at the right-handed hitters he's going to have to face. LeMahieu, Judge, Torres, Stan, like these guys are elite hitters. But I do like some of these lefties from the Yankees. I think Aaron Hicks could be a sleeper today, maybe even Brett Gardner. Hicks, though, I do like quite a bit against Arrieta. Arrieta gave up a lot of power to lefties last season, so Hicks could be interesting. 5.5 implied run total for the Yankees. I do have some interest there. But I really like the Astros against Kendall Graveman. I think that's a great spot. Assuming Gregory Soto is going to be pitching for the Tigers, he's going to be the long reliever. I'm going to have some interest in these righties from the Royals, specifically the top 4 guys, Merrifield, Modesty, Soler, and Salvador Perez. I think are all very good value plays today. And then if you want to go to like the Indians against Dylan Cease, I could see doing that. But if I had just to choose between stacking the Indians or playing Dylan Cease, given how weak this pitching slate is, I probably would side with Dylan Cease, rostering him just because he has strikeout upside. But don't really like any bats in this game. I think pitching in this Orioles Miami game is going to be the way that I go. Don't really like hitters here. If you want to target some Red Sox bats against Waka, I'm fine with that. But the Red Sox have really been killing me recently. I stacked them pretty heavy on Sunday, and they really disappointed. I believe they disappointed on Saturday as well. Red Sox have been chalky the last few slates in terms of ownership, and they've really disappointed. This will probably be the slate where nobody plays the Red Sox and they go out there and score 15 runs just because that's how baseball works. But Yeah, I don't see myself going to the Red Sox. Probably just going to be sticking to the Astros as my main stack for today. Some of these righties from the Royals, some righties from the Phillies. I do like some of these righties from the Cubs and Reds game as well. Specifically the Reds I like quite a bit. Some of the righties from the Reds. John Lester does give up a lot of power to right-handed hitters, and this Reds lineup does have a lot of right-handed hitters that hit lefties exceptionally well. Specifically, Eugenio Suarez and Nick Castellanos. I think Suarez and Castellanos are great as a great two-man stack for today. Phillip Ervin, if he leads off, only 3K. I like that a lot for value. Irvin's a guy that can steal bases, and John Lester always has kind of struggled with that, with guys that can steal bases. Isn't the best at holding runners, so there's some upside for Ervin, especially since he's 3K. If Aquino's in the lineup, he has a ton of power versus lefties. He's 4,600. You could go there. This game does have some weather concerns, though, so that'll be something to keep an eye on closer to lock. Assuming it's going to play, I like some of these righties from the Reds. I could see targeting some righties from the Cubs as well, but I like the Red side a little bit more versus Lester. Don't really see myself going to pitching in this game. But yeah, I think I covered everything. Pitching, batters, stacks for today. Pretty much covered it all for this 9-game slate on DraftKings and 7-gamer on Yahoo. If you guys did enjoy this video, I would appreciate it if you would hit that like button down below. Always appreciate the support, guys. Make sure to subscribe as well if you haven't yet. I'm uploading daily now. Now the MLB's back. I'm getting my channel very active again. Going to be uploading every single day. Going to be getting up NBA videos every single day when the NBA returns. Very excited for that as well. So hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button on your way out the door. Follow me on Twitter. Link down below in the description. Check out some of the exclusive content I do have available on Patreon. I will have core plays posted over there, updated core plays. I will be starting my article series as well. I'll be posting articles Monday through Friday, full slate breakdowns, highlighting all my favorite plays, all my favorite hitters, my favorite stacks. If you just want more content from me, you can check out all the stuff I have to offer on Patreon, which is linked down below in the description. But that's pretty much it, guys. Best of luck tonight. Appreciate you watching the video. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.